Beyond the Mask: The Revolutionary Power of Soul Deep Freedom. Have you ever noticed how we're all wearing masks? Not the pandemic kind. I'm talking about those invisible shields we put up to protect ourselves from being truly seen. The ones we've worn for so long we've forgotten they're even there. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing LaDonna Croffe, a visionary whose transformative work has touched thousands of lives across the globe. Her message of soul deep freedom isn't just inspiring, it's revolutionary. In a world obsessed with quick fixes and surface level solutions, LaDonna dares to dive deep into the messy, beautiful work of spiritual healing that liberates us from shame, emotional bondage, and addiction. Her courage to speak truth to power while maintaining a spirit of profound compassion makes her one of the most important voices of our generation. The masks we wear, they're heavy, aren't they? We carry them through board meetings and bedtime stories. We wear them while raising children and running companies. We hide behind them when leading teams and loving partners. And somewhere along the way, we forget there's a face, a real, authentic self underneath. LaDonna's insights cut straight to the heart of what keeps so many of us, especially high achieving Black women, trapped in cycles of exhaustion and performance. Her message isn't about trying harder, it's about healing deeper. Your identity, she emphasized during our conversation, is not your struggle. Let that sink in for a moment. Your identity is not your struggle. You are not the addiction you're fighting. You are not the trauma you survived. You are not the expectations you're drowning under. You are worthy of love and belonging right now, not when you finally get it all together. This isn't some fluffy self help mantra. This is soul work. This is freedom work. And it matters because too many of us are dying inside while looking perfectly fine on the outside. Consider Jonica Jackson, whose story illuminates this truth brilliantly. As a Black woman entrepreneur, Jonica faced barriers that would crush most spirits: persistent isolation, scarce resources, and that exhausting narrative that we need to work twice as hard to get half as far. The entrepreneurial world told her success meant hustling harder, sleeping less, and sacrificing more. But Jonica rejected that narrative entirely. Instead of building another grind culture empire, she created intentional communities where vulnerability wasn't just allowed, it was celebrated as a strength. She championed mutual support networks that turned competition into collaboration. I was tired of seeing brilliant women burning out in isolation, Jonica told me. We've been sold this lie that asking for help means you're weak. But the strongest thing I ever did was admit I couldn't do it alone. The result? Thousands of Black women entrepreneurs broke through isolation to build sustainable businesses rooted in joy rather than burnout. Jonica didn't just help them succeed, she helped them redefine what success even means. What's remarkable is how Jonica's approach mirrors exactly what LaDonna Croffe teaches: that true liberation emerges not from solitary striving, but from authentic connection. When we remove our masks and allow ourselves to be seen, something extraordinary happens. We discover we're not alone. But here's the uncomfortable truth: we can't connect authentically while wearing masks. Janet Pascal's groundbreaking research further confirms this reality. For years, Janet studied how Black women entrepreneurs navigate success in systems designed for their exclusion. What she discovered was revolutionary. The most successful weren't lone wolves with superhuman stamina, they were community builders who prioritized shared growth over individual gain. Janet documented countless stories of women who transformed entire industries not through isolated genius, but through collaborative innovation. One entrepreneur she followed for 5 years started with nothing but a laptop and a dream. What separated her from thousands of others with similar ambitions? She built a circle of truth tellers who held her accountable, celebrated her wins, and helped her rise when she fell. The myth of the self made success story is just that, a myth, Janet explained. Behind every overnight success is a community that made it possible. By validating communal approaches over isolated effort, Janet empowered thousands to believe their journey matters regardless of its shape or pace. Her research powerfully supports what LaDonna emphasized in our interview: connection empowers transformation. Real change happens in community, with God and with others who support, challenge, and walk alongside us. Isolation fuels shame. Connection creates space for healing. This isn't just theory, this is lived experience. Take Yolanda McGregor, whose journey demonstrates how embracing vulnerability transforms leadership. Raised with expectations to always be strong, even at personal cost, Yolanda built an impressive career by never showing weakness. She was the first to arrive, last to leave, and never admitted when she was struggling. I thought vulnerability would undermine my authority, Yolanda shared. Especially as a Black woman in corporate America, I felt I couldn't afford to be seen as anything less than perfect. The turning point came unexpectedly. During a high stakes presentation, Yolanda found herself overwhelmed with anxiety. Instead of pushing through with her usual mask of confidence, she paused and admitted to the room, "I'm nervous about this because it matters so much to me." That moment of honesty changed everything. Instead of judgment, she found connection. Instead of rejection, she discovered deeper respect from her colleagues. By showing up as my full, imperfect self, I gave others permission to do the same, Yolanda explained. And suddenly, we weren't just colleagues performing roles, we were humans solving problems together. Yolanda saw stronger teams emerge under her guidance. Colleagues felt safer bringing their whole selves to work, reporting higher levels of engagement and satisfaction. Years spent upholding an image had led her toward burnout until she discovered liberation through transparency. She became recognized nationally for redefining leadership standards across industries previously dominated by perfectionism and silence regarding personal struggle. Her journey inspired countless other professionals, especially Black women, to finally seek help without shame and lead boldly, authentically. This case embodies exactly what LaDonna means when she talks about empowerment and connection. Healing happens when we stop hiding. But let's be honest, removing the mask is terrifying. What if people see the real me and decide I'm not enough? What if my vulnerability is met with rejection? What if my struggles disqualify me from the very spaces I've worked so hard to occupy? These fears are legitimate. They're rooted in real experiences where authenticity was punished rather than celebrated, where vulnerability was exploited rather than honored. But here's what LaDonna wants us to understand: the risk of remaining hidden is far greater than the risk of being seen. Because when we hide, we don't just conceal our flaws, we bury our power. When we perform rather than participate, we don't just exhaust ourselves, we rob the world of our unique gifts. When we isolate rather than connect, we don't just suffer alone, we perpetuate the very systems that wounded us in the first place. This is why LaDonna's message about soul deep freedom is so revolutionary. is not just about personal healing, though that's certainly part of it. It's about collective liberation. It's about dismantling the lie that says our worth is tied to our performance, our appearance, our productivity. It's about creating spaces like Jonica did, like Janet documented, like Yolanda modeled, where softness isn't weakness but strength, where vulnerability isn't liability but leadership, where connection isn't luxury but necessity. This is what it means to live in your soft girl era, not as a trend or aesthetic, but as a spiritual, emotional, and mental recalibration. It's about shifting from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization. It's about dropping the superwoman cape that's been suffocating you. It's about learning to say no without guilt. It's about reclaiming your identity, not the version shaped by family expectations, church roles, or boardroom rules, but the real you that's been waiting to bloom. So I stand before you today with a challenge, one that might feel small, but holds the power to transform your life. Take off one mask today, just one. Maybe it's the mask that says, I'm fine when you're falling apart. Maybe it's the mask that says, I can handle it all when you're drowning. Maybe it's the mask that says, I don't need help when you're desperate for support. Choose one mask and gently, bravely set it down. Then watch what happens. Notice how you breathe differently. Observe how energy previously spent on maintaining appearances becomes available for genuine connection. Feel the profound relief of being seen, truly seen, perhaps for the first time. This isn't just personal, it's political. In a world that profits from our insecurity and isolation, choosing authenticity is an act of resistance. In communities where strength has been demanded as survival, choosing softness is revolutionary. Your liberation might begin as a whisper, a private permission to rest, to feel, to be imperfect. But make no mistake, that whisper joins a growing chorus of voices reclaiming their right to be human, not superhuman. As LaDonna Croffe reminds us, your identity is not your struggle. You are worthy of love and belonging right now. And real transformation happens not in isolation, but in connection. The world doesn't need more mass performers, it needs you, the real, unfiltered, gloriously imperfect you. Because when you find the courage to remove your mask, you don't just set yourself free, you create space for others to do the same. And that, my friends, is how we change the world, one brave, authentic face at a time.